We're joined today with the guys from Bathhouse, the Banya in London. We have Alex and Robert, and hello.
Hi.
Good to have you
Welcome.
on. And
you.
Today we get to do something that we've not really had a chance to do on the podcast, and I'm very excited about, which is to talk about Banya and the Banya experience. So let's kick off. Tell us a little bit about the Bathhouse, how you came up with the idea, and your journey so far.
I think the being in London since 2000, it's the idea of doing some, especially after the nightclubbing and everything, you really need to recover. And I've been thinking about the Banya for quite a long time, and been involved in sort of Banya projects since 2010 in the UK, and at some point in 2017, I think. In this 2015, I established the small business doing small banyas for people, like very tiny. And Rob, this is how I met Rob, who approached me and said, actually, any chance you can maybe look at my garden place and do something?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, why not? And this is how our friendship started in that time, and later on using his banya, whom I built.
Yeah.
We've been sitting and talking there, and he was like, how about we do the proper sort of public place? And I said, well, it really depends on the location. I mean, it's a lot of factors there, of course, and not only the construction is the easiest part, in my opinion. And and we find our Victoria location, which was from the very first second we stepped in, we realized that is the right place, because it's if it's talk about the space itself, it's like ex-bank. Who's been abandoned for 20 years after the bank moved out in 1997. And the reason why no one ever able to do something is because the reinforced walls at some point are 1.6 meters in width.
Wow.
And you can't really change that without getting involved in structural sort of issues, and this is listed building right opposite the backyard of Buckingham Palace, and you can't really do a lot there.
So you're in a bank vault essentially.
Well, the main sauna, also, the main what we call barilka steam room is in the vault itself.
Wow.
So it's got fantastic insulation.
In the original size of it, and another very funny fact is that the bank left that sort of big heavy door, which probably weighted around 2 tons. This is what the specialist told us.
Yeah.
And of course, nobody could get it out easy. So we start cutting it by pieces, and the chunk of cuts like this, which was like 50-80 kilos each.
Yeah. Wow.
And took us like half day to cut. And and then the boys, I mean the contractors, they said, just listen, we can't really do that.
Yeah.
We will spend now 3 months just cutting this door, and it's also a lot of smoke around and everything, and it's like impossible to walk and be on a schedule. So let's just bury it somewhere within the building, and said, okay, fine. And inside of our sauna, there is a mezzanine level. So it's literally buried there. Underneath it, yes. And forever. But we were considering to do the mezzanine level anyway. So, it was a great space to sort of put all the construction junk, which are too heavy to get out.
That's going to be so confusing for future archaeologists.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is how the bathhouse opened their doors in late December 2019 for the community. But then, of course, it's pandemic, yes, who really set us up, I think, for 1.5 years back to...
Was that a challenging time for you guys to open just before the pandemic really took off, or were you guys actually in a pretty good place there? Because obviously the government furlough scheme and everything came in, or was it sort of like, oh, this is the last thing we need after getting everything ready?
Well, it certainly wasn't ideal. We managed to survive with the assistance of some of those programs that you mentioned, and we had supportive sort of backers who were could take a long-term view. And I guess as we were talking earlier, the impact of the pandemic actually sort of turbocharged people's interest in sauna wellness. So. It was a difficult it was difficult 12 months or so. Very stop-start, opening, sort of closing again.
Bubbles.
Yeah, it was very frustrating. But we came out the other end and
stronger than ever.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. And it's also funny facts of during the closure was that we do quite a lot of traditional drinks in Banya, like that was back to Eastern Europe. Like one of them, the most famous is the rye bread fermented drink.
Okay.
And obviously you have the body of the yale. Yeah,
it's yeast. So it's a starter, effectively. It's called kvass.
Special, yeah. So it's called kvass, and we for it to survive. It's kind of like the organic thing, so you have to look after it. So if you'll just leave it, it will just die, and you will just throw it away. And even during the pandemic, there was the security guy who every other day used to looking after this stuff, sort of pour it out wherever was created kvass, or drink it, or semi-drink it, semi-thrown away.
Drunk security guard in the basement.
Well, it's very minor alcoholic,
low alcohol,
extremely low, but of course you can't really drink it every day a lot. It's like, because it's like it's 10 liters every other day or so.
Wow.
It was sort of processed, but we managed to get it alive, and it's the base of this sort of organic stuff is still alive since then.
Great.
And now people drink and say, "Oh my God, this is so tasty kvass.
Yeah.
Where are you buying it from?" Well, we do it in house.
That's great. So Banya comes naturally to you, Alex. You're from Ukraine originally?
Yes, I'm from Ukraine, and I wouldn't say that, a regional idea of opening the Banya was sort of passionate about, and of course my sort of initial involvement not in the bus house, in Banya business in general, was more sort of on a commercially driven side of it. But later on I realized that it's actually has a soul, and it has a really interesting features like social side of it, and communication, and also in general the heat, the warm environment. This is what makes you feel so comfortable and cozy. So this become part of my life, and now when we were designing and sort of operationally built the bathhouse, that was already a passion. It was really about to make sure that how you're gonna feel when you will get there, what will be your journey experience, what will where to cut the angle to make sure that will be a smooth transition from one point to the other, and this and that. And I believe that we achieved it, because we had a lot of feedbacks from our not from our, at that time, just the experienced Banya clients came from all over the world, and they were telling us like, guys,
do it this way.
They said, well, you made it very well. Excellent. We love the way you made it. And then a lot of them who lives in London become our regulars, and this is the key point, obviously.
But I think what you're saying about how Banya, and sauna for that matter, all bathing experiences, they're very emotionally charged, aren't they? They're very sort of tender, gentle, really beautiful experiences, actually. And I think Banya in particular really taps into nostalgia for one's childhood, for the countryside. So it can be, really wonderfully restorative.
And to have that in the heart of London, obviously is, and we talk about this a lot, and and I often on this podcast say we talk about this a lot on the podcast, but the the need for people in the inner city in particular to have that ability to switch off and be calm and quiet. And London is such a busy, noisy place. It's always, even in the middle of the night, it's noisy and vibrating and everything else. And just to have somewhere where you can fully disconnect at 1.6 meters of concrete between you and the rest of London is quite an interesting concept.
Well, to be honest, Banya has quite a high social component because this is where you come usually with friends, and you spend time sweating together, talking together, enjoying food and drinks together. This is one of the very popular, especially after the pandemic, one of the very popular way of spending time hanging together with the friends. And people nowadays consider whether shall we go into a restaurant, or maybe we go here, have a bit of the wellness component, food and drinks as well, socializing. But along with this type of time spent, you also have, of course, the level where you can come, let's say, early in the morning, for first thing in the morning, and enjoy more quieter time and have it for yourself, where you're absolutely right. You have this 1.6 meters of the concrete between you and the world, and you just sort of relax. You enjoy your treatments. You enjoy your sort of time sitting or laying down, or reading book as well. I mean, we do occasionally the sort of book clubs as well.
Really?
People love it. Yes.
Doesn't get too steamy in the Banya for.
Well, they do it in the lounge.
Okay.
In between, in between using the Banya.
What's your favourite time to go to the Banya?
Well, I really like the sort of buzzy social time, and because.
I guess with your background, kind of nightclubs, and you like the hustle and bustle, right?
Bring the party to the Banya.
What is good is you meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
That is really value the experience. You say hello here, say there. You meet introduced to someone. You enjoy being sort of in big space with a big community, communal. I think it's very important in our life to be sort of socialized with the right people,
so
enjoying
it's like
the right thing.
networking almost.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So to go back to a previous point, Alex, did you grow up with exposure to Banya in Ukraine, or is that actually something that you've kind of fallen in love with in later life?
Well, probably late life.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the Banya always was in my life. At certain points, I went there with my uncle. I went there with my grandparents. My dad at certain point, used to be sort of regular in Banya, and I went with him as well. It was probably my teenage ages, and then I moved to UK when I was 20. So. Then, of course, I've been, trying to establish myself here. There was no Banyas.
Of course.
So there was no way of sort of enjoy that. And that was the actual driven point to consider that, okay, we have to do this business in the UK to make sure that this missing point, nostalgia, what Rob just said as well, that we can fulfill that at some point. And we didn't know what to expect of course, working on the Banya project. But well, I'm glad that now the Bass House is, from that sort of startup business become quite established, well recognized.
You guys, but you guys are big now. You have 50 staff across the business.
Indeed, yes, it's 50 plus staff.
Most of them actually from Ukraine.
Right.
Arrived in the UK since February 22.
Fantastic.
So I mean, it's nice to be able to offer them a bit of a somewhere to work, and hopefully good conditions,
Yeah.
sort of thing. And it's a community for the staff as well as it is for the customers, actually.
Yeah.
And actually, you see some really nice interactions between regular customers and sort of and the staff members. So, I mean, for me, it's just a really nice place to work. You know, go in there, get something to eat.
Were they
have a
surprised
massage.
coming to the UK to discover that there was this Banya, this resource in London?
Well, I think the marketing nowadays really doesn't surprise anyone anyway. Google will tell you everything you want to know about the place where you're going. But for sure, I think what is important is that we brought the cultural, absolutely authentic experience to the country where the spa in general, or not spa, sauna or sweating in general, wasn't that popular or wasn't that interested on a regular life level. And this is very encouraging. I'm glad to see a lot of sauna or hot and cold experience businesses opening across the UK, and that is very encouraging. That the education of people, common people, to sort of use the facilities for distress or relaxation or socializing gives, or just health benefits, gives an opportunity for them to understand the value of all this, and its benefit to us as well.
I mean, to answer the question you put to Alex, I mean, what's the best time? There's kind of no bad time to go to the sauna or the banya. You can go on your own. You can go and sort of meditate. You can have that sort of monastic experience, read, reflect. You can go with your family, your kids. I mean, I love going with my children. So you can go with friends. I go with my mum. That's a bit less enjoyable, to be quite honest. But, you can celebrate at the banya. You can commiserate.
Yeah.
There's kind of no event that can't be marked by.
It's a blank canvas.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So do with it what you will.
And also, there is no age restriction because in any age you can find the right sort of explanation why you are there. When you are young, you go there for socializing, for sort of enjoy the time together, see your friends in the swimwear, and middle age, you more come for that sort of stress relief, relaxation from the work and reality around you. More sort of towards the pension, sort of older age, you come to treat all your arthritis and joint pains, and this is also helps too. So it's kind of like really has no limit of use, which is amazing. It really depends on you how you understand the experience and how you want to use it, because you can go warm, you can go semi-cold, or you can go deep cold, like the up to 4 degrees water, or stay more sort of after the summer shower sort of level of cold, and this all gives. At the end, it all gives the health benefits.
But it's very interesting what you say about from sort of cradle to grave, because I guess the earliest banyas were probably just in sort of forest communities, and they'd construct a sort of a bathing space, a hall, which performed all sorts of different functions. We know that women would often give birth in them because they were the cleanest place, and they'd often lay out the dead there. So there's that journey,
the whole journey,
which is it's an important space.
So Rob, I mean, obviously in Alex's case, Banya is something that he grew up with. It wasn't a new experience for him. But how did you end up in this world and discover, Banya and these kind of cultural traditions, and what drew you to building a career in that space?
Well, I've got some Finnish roots actually. So my father was half Finnish. So I've got family there, and I think I had my first real proper sauna experience about the age of 13 or 14.
Okay.
At an extraordinary place just outside Helsinki called Sauna Twins. I'm sure you've been to. It's kind of the headquarters of the Finnish Sauna Society.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like playing cricket at Lord's.
Yeah.
You know, if you're interested in sauna. So that was my first exposure, and I kind of got the bug there. And then I lived in Russia for a long chunk of my sort of 20s. Discovered the Banya.
Were you just working there?
Yeah, working there.
An interest to go out there, or
So I studied Russian, so went out to work there for you know, at a fantastically interesting, exciting time, and yeah, explored the urban and the sort of countryside version. I mean, both wonderful. Came back to the UK, I guess in my 30s at some point, and discovered there wasn't really anything available. I mean, there are bathhouses in London, of course, but no proper sort of urban banyas, as you know, as I'd sort of understood them in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and that's kind of the genesis. Yeah.
How did that, from your experience, and this is a really interesting one for me. I spent time in Russia and obviously in Finland and the Baltic states, but my time in Russia, I never went to Banya, and obviously in more recent times that's just absolutely not on the cards. So I'm really interested to hear about, culturally and experientially, how you find public saunas in Finland differ from public banyas in Russia, and the kind of how how different your expectations should be between the two, or are they very, very similar? For anybody not watching this, they're pointing at each other trying to work out who should answer. Yeah. Okay, you guys.
Okay,
I think in Russia we were talking about people visiting on a regular basis. I mean, people will often go with the same group of friends, you know, every week in the same time slot. It's kind of like you know, going to football or going to church.
Yeah,
or
almost religion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I mean, the way we think about it at the bathhouse is there are three components to Banya, and we call them heat, that's obvious, treat, that's the treatment side of things, and meet, that's the social side, MEET. So I guess the treatment sort of component is perhaps more pronounced in Russia. You know, Banya, which is the sort of signature treatment of the Banya, where you're laid out in a private, in a sauna, and the therapist throws water onto the stones to generate steam, and then using a range of different leaves that have been soaked until they're beautiful and aromatic. He sort of moves the steam around, stimulates the skin. I mean, all sorts of fantastic health benefits. A friend of mine described it as a cross between a shamanic ritual and a car wash.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a good summary, actually.
So that's, you call that Badinia. That's, I've heard, does that differ from a Venic treatment?
That is the Venic, yeah. So the leaves are Venici.
Yeah.
Parinia. So it's from the root is par, which means steam.
Okay.
So that is kind of the central sort of part of a Banya experience for me, because it gives you that blissed out state.
Yeah.
You might want to follow it up, you know, with a massage or a body scrub. I mean, we do a small range of treatments, but I think it's one thing to come and sweat, which is typically what you do in Finland, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you might sort of
do a bit of whisking.
You might do a bit of that, but
Yeah.
I think when a professional does it for you, someone who's been trained and understands, you know, the artistry, it's on a totally different level.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the meat side of things, the social side. You know, after you've had after you've sweated, had your treatments, you're typically hungry, dehydrated. So that's the time to, you know, have something to eat or drink and hang out with your friends. So the goal is to sort of recharge you entirely, sort of mentally, physically, spiritually as well if possible.
And also adds to the question itself, Jake, is that the fact is that, for example, in Helsinki, there is a lowly sauna, and my best steam experience was exactly there.
Wow.
Even being in mostly all prime Moscow, St. Petersburg, Kiev, banyas, that steam was unbelievable, something that I still remember very well on my body, and I was so surprised of that and love it very much.
Yeah.
And so I truly believe that.
But no Parinia.
But no perennial. Yes, that's the minus, of course. But still, if you sort of want to have the steam as not as a dry, because a lot of people saying that the Finnish sauna is dry.
Yeah, but it's not true, right?
It is not true. Correct. Yeah. So you do have a steam there, and you do have a steam which can be very similar to the Russian type of banya. And yes, maybe without the leaves at some point, but some of them actually do have leaves.
Yeah, I know.
Yes. And the quality of the steam and the understanding of the heat is very, very similar.
Yeah.
And that was very surprising for me.
It's interesting you say that, and I think you've balanced it really nicely there, because I often joke with people that if you ask a Finn what the difference is between sauna and banya, they'll say, yeah, well, banya is very hot and very dry, and the sauna is like a not as hot but a lot more steamy. And then you ask a Russian what's the difference between a banya and a sauna, and they go, sauna is very hot and very dry, but the banya is cooler and more steamy. And I'm like, hang on, this is kind of
We're talking about the same thing here.
Well, but to be honest, if you go in math or go in the technique part of it, that the banya is indeed lower temperature.
Yeah. Okay.
And the higher humidity.
What sort of temperatures are we talking typical in a commercial banya?
Well, in commercial, it's probably the most typical temperature will be 75.
Okay.
Between 72 to 75 plus you add a steam, the water on the stones, it actually makes it steamy and feels hot, yes. But it stays as a sort of layer cake on a higher level rather than
steam pie.
The steam pie.
Oh, steam pie, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that makes it feels so hot. That's why you use these felt hats. Yes, that's exactly for the purpose of sort of protect your head, don't get dizzy or fountain, and that's the point. And but there is a lot of extreme banya users. We call them stalivari. It's come from the phrase the iron people, who want to have banya up to 90-95 degrees and steam on top. Yeah. And the steam is like, we're not talking about a couple of liters of water. It's like a lot of water. Wow. And it like, super hot, super steamy. Well, that is really extreme part. We don't do that in our bathhouse. And I hope we will never do anywhere at all, but because I think that is really extreme level of and not right.
Yeah, I think we often find when we speak to people and they talk about what they want from their sauna or banya experiences, getting that understanding that it's not just about the temperature, it's about the humidity as well.
Absolutely.
And some of my most enjoyable sauna experiences are 75 to 85 Celsius with 30 to 10% humidity on that kind of sliding scale. So 10% at 85 feels quite hot, quite a good steam. Down at 75 you can get a lot more relative humidity, and that feeling of it being like, now if I ever go to a steam room, I'm always like, this is like, it's not enough. Like once you've had a good low temperature high steam sauna, then you're like, you never want to get in the steam room again.
Well, it's the banya itself. This is our vision, and this is what we are trying to recreate in the bath house, is that level of comfort. And we discussed this that obviously there is two components. Yes, it's a heat, and then it's the cooling.
Full of three.
Not about our heat treatment.
Yeah.
It's about warm up, and then cool down and
Right.
And then normalize, relax.
Yeah, sort of
afterwards,
balanced, and of course you can go too extreme as we just described the sort of superheated banya, steamy room, and then you jump into that sort of almost 0 Celsius degrees water with the icy sort of things around, and you kind of like think that that's the best bunny experience, but well, in fact, this is not sport, and it's all about the level of comfort. What you want is you want to listen to your body, how this should be, whether this warming up or cooling down. This should be. It can be a little bit aggressive for sure, but it shouldn't be extreme in a such level when it's like too hot and too cold after that. So what we are trying to, our philosophy, what we are trying to teach our clients, our guests, is that you should enjoy the experience, and that will give you the most important thing is addiction.
Yeah.
You then want to come back again because the feelings you had during your session is really remarkable, and you want to come back and do it again. This is where you start feeling relaxed, and this is where you start feeling sort of really positive thinking as well, because
it can change your mood, can't it? I mean, we all know this. It can be transformative. I mean, nothing can be exposed to that heat without actually sort of changing in composition slightly. So
yeah. Some people may come very irritating and very moody, and then you see them leaving like smiling, really relaxed, enjoyed, and like you asking them, so how was your experience? And they were like, it was amazing. And that is what our reception team experienced every day. Seeing the guests coming very grumpy and sort of stressed after the whole day of work and everything, and then they leave almost flying.
Well, that's something very close to my heart, and I think it is changing here in the UK, but there's still this sentiment, and I guess it's some sort of Victorian-esque mindset that if something feels good, then it must be bad for you, and by contrast, for something to be good for you, it must feel bad. And you see that in exercise with a no pain, no gain kind of mindset. You see that in diet, where people are like, oh well, if it tastes good, it's probably going to make me fat, and if it tastes bad, then it's probably really good for me. And in wellness, that's just not the case. It's like, and I think that is difficult for a lot of people to get out of their mindset that it's about relaxing, it's about unwinding, and it's about doing the right thing for your body. You're completely right, Alex, in that there will be moments of discomfort or points within that experience where at the tail end of being or at the beginning of the cold plunge experience, or perhaps the tail end of the hot room experience, that you sort of start to feel a little bit of discomfort, but you're not trying to push through a barrier or quote unquote feel the burn or whatever. That's not what wellness is about. That's not to say, and it's about, I suppose it's about understanding the why behind you doing it. So in contrast, one of our podcast guests from Brass Monkey were talking about cold therapy, and there it is about training yourself to go along and like using a muscle, and by pushing yourself, you make the body work, and by using that muscle, you become more resilient. But when it comes to wellness, I think you guys are completely right, which is, that getting people into that feeling of complete relaxation, it is about listening to the body.
But it also that environment, that sense of being held, it helps nourish yourself and relationships as well. I mean, I think particularly for men, they don't always, we struggle to communicate, and I think your barriers come down when you're in the Banya sauna. People are much more open to. There's much less sort of hostility. it's really extraordinary to see and lovely to experience as well.
Yeah, I've often heard people sort of refer to it as like, you know, you just don't have the energy or capacity to, you know, discuss something in a flowery fashion or put up those barriers or whatever. And there's those famous stories, and they may just be stories. I've yet to see the full evidence, but about was it Reagan and Gorbachev who went to Finland and had a sauna together, and then after that, you know, this is when perestroika all then happened, and it was, you know, they got them in the sauna together, and then they were just like, okay, you want to do this, I want to do this, let's just make a deal, and you know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that's true or not. There's also a photograph, which for years I thought was authentic, of what looks like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and someone else relaxing on the sort of porch of a sort of rustic sauna.
Yeah.
And you know, wrapped in towels. And I thought, wow, that's quite extraordinary. These two great sort of men of therapy.
Yeah.
It turns out it was photoshopped,
right? Okay.
Which is a great sadness to me, actually, because it is therapy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's true. So, talking about Banya, so again, I've had far few proper Banya experiences than I've had sauna experiences, but some of those have been just the most remarkable experiences. And you've talked about things like whisking treatments and things. So last year in the States, actually, with a Slavic community around Minneapolis, I went to the Banya House guys there and had a proper Banya experience, and it was amazing. It was the combination of whisking, building up the heat, going between the cold room. But one of the things actually I really enjoyed was, as you've kind of touched on, the fraternal element of it, of, you know, a group of guys in that normalization period, and we're there eating, and you'll have to tell me whether these things have particular names and whether I'm doing them a disservice. But we had like pig fat.
Sala.
Sala, yeah, with some kind of vodka, I'm guessing. It was a spirit. It was a clear spirit.
Well, then maybe it's not the vodka itself. Maybe it's the self-made
Samagon,
at home.
Yeah.
Samagon.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know how to say it in English.
Moonshine,
homemade?
effectively. Yeah.
Moonshine.
Yeah, more or less.
Yep, I'm pretty sure it was that.
Is your vision affected?
Yeah. And then raw garlic. So we were getting the rye bread with the pig fat and the raw garlic, and then eating this, and with salt as well.
Of course.
And then vodka.
Amazing.
Or not vodka.
But I think Banya cuisine is a whole sort of podcast in its
Yeah.
own right.
You make me feel
But I
sorry
mean,
now.
your appetite.
Sorry, guys.
You know, after that Banya experience, you know, your appetite is really
Heightened,
sharpened, isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah. But you want natural.
Something
You
wholesome.
want bit of crunch. You want because you know that you need to restore vitamins and all the rest of it. So
Yeah, I was good meat,
Yeah.
good fish
Yeah.
as well afterwards.
yeah.
You know, there's almost nothing better than something salmon based after a finished sauna.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
example.
I'm super naive in the world of Banya, but for me, in terms of après sauna cuisine, it really flip flops for me. It's either something like fresh and healthy and bursting with juicy, nutritious kind of, you know, the salmon soup with dill and some capers or something. Or
This is Lely.
yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, we have the amazing sort of cuisine. I mean, the professional commercial kitchen at the Bass House, and we were trying to recreate that experience of authenticity, Eastern European, sort of Russian, Ukrainian mood across the whole journey, and we do have all that what you just described, and I mean both of you described actually, and we have that sala or the fat, pig fat, and amazingly cut it very thin and applied on the rye bread exactly with the raw garlic. It's exactly the way it is, and you if you want, you can sort of have the shot of vodka as well, and along with it, or the beer.
So what other sort of things could you expect on the menu there? Do you have a sort of fixed menu? Do you kind of shake it up a little bit? Do you have kind of...
I certainly have some
seasonality.
Okay, you go.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say the food's part of the nostalgia as
Yeah.
well. So I mean, I guess it's kind of classic dishes from, your childhood.
Yes,
If you'd grown up in
technically.
that world. Yeah, so borscht, so classic soups, borscht, solyanka. What else do we do?
Olivier is the
Russian
salad.
Okay.
Yes. Then you have the dumplings.
Yeah.
Pelmeni, as they're
Obviously,
called.
that is pelmeni. Yes, that is classic, sort of with the sour cream. Sort of.
What's your favourite thing off the menu? If you had to choose, one thing when you have had a great sauna experience.
One.
You can only pick one thing off the menu.
So, okay, let's make one.
One meal.
One meal, yes,
Yeah.
one sort of. No, I think one of the most popular and in fact it's very tasty and I love it. It's borscht, of course, and the pelmeni. That's sort of
Classic,
very
combo.
classic. Yes, very classic, and a lot of people like it. I think this is our mostly the best sellers food sort
But
of
you,
combination.
Max, you were going to say your taste sort of
because
range
so
from
you go from like a salad that would be fresh and bursting with nutritious kind of flavors to wanting something like I've already forgotten the word for it, but the pig fat,
salad
or macaron. You go for a cheap sausage in Finland,
cooked on the stones. Yeah.
And it's maybe not in the south. But yeah, the balance between I've never really understood why or how I would feel a certain way, but you do get a craving probably to restore some minerals or whatever you're deficient in after that heat stress, and I find myself sometimes reaching for the fresh nutritious food and sometimes reaching for the fatty salty food. So
exactly, it depends on how your body reacts on the experience. That's amazing, and we offer all that. If people want to kind of like, some of them some of them asking for the fresh salads, and some of them want the most nasty thing in the menu, oily and sort of, and they enjoy it. And but what we certainly do not recommend is to consume the alcohol in between the session.
Yeah.
That is not very, very well. And
so stay hydrated between sessions.
No, you do. You obviously do
tea,
drink tea,
kvass. We make various hams. We've just
quite
introduced this cool new drink onto our menu. We call it the Banya cocktail. So Banya cocktail. It consists of a bottle of Barzomi, which is the Georgian sparkling
Very
water, which is sulfurous. You squeeze a lemon in there, and you put a great big dollop of delicious Ukrainian honey. Stir it all up, and it's it's really good.
It keeps you rehydrating, but if you sort of on this social component with your friends and you want to have a bit of the alcohol, you certainly can, but better to do it after your Banya ritual, so because you have a time to stay and sort of enjoy food and the drinks, and this is the best time to have consume the alcohol.
And that's something that maybe people might not appreciate if they're not really familiar with these kind of bathing cultures, is that the bathing ends when you leave the hot room, but the actual experience is quite protracted, and you should stay, and during that normalization time, that relaxation, you've got opportunities still for socializing to carry on, but just in a different forum, and whilst you have that ravenous hunger and thirst after the heat stress, it's good for the bathers, but also probably good for you as a business that they stay put and gobble up lots of nice food and drink.
Well, that's what exactly Rob said about our vision of the visit. It's heat, treat, and meat. So you kind of like have all the components within, and this is what we believe is the most right Banya experience, because this is, if you look through the history of the Banyas, especially the urban Banyas, this is essential components. And what we were trying to sort of put here and be different from the traditional sort of spas is that experience where you not come in a sort of, fluffy bathrobe in this very quiet room with a candle and aromas, and you have 1 hour, God knows what treatment for £1 million. And, this is more sort of down to earth, more sort of clear, understandable treatments with the organic ingredients, and you clearly have absolutely different vibe on it. I mean that is how we believe the Banya experience should be.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
So when people are booking to visit the bathhouse, do they book their time in the Banya, and then they're free to stay as long as they like afterwards in the kind of what do you call it, restaurant area? Or
so we don't offer day passes.
Sure.
It's you book a 3-hour slot effectively,
okay,
and within that 3 hours, you enjoy the Banya. That's the heat. You have your treatments usually after you've warmed up, because treatments obviously once your muscles are relaxed are going to be much more beneficial and enjoyable. And then usually we say that 3rd hour is when you sort of hang out in the restaurant in a dressing gown or in your towel and have something to eat or drink. I mean, you don't have to do it in that order, but kind of makes sense.
But you don't have a sort of hard. I mean, people are there enjoying food. You're not going to be like,
no, absolutely not.
Get out!
No.
3 hours.
No. I mean, busier times there might be a little bit more pressure, but we try and, we're not try and treat people respectfully.
We are also quite glad to have a lot of regulars, return guests, and we already know them, their behavior, their preferences, their style of use the facilities or having the experience, and we know, this definitely will overstay 3 hours, so we add in, at the beginning, we add in another half an hour on top of their 3 hours.
Yeah.
Some of them we know, this will be very quick in and out. So again, no need even to book a big table or a table at all. Because it depends really on the mood of the customer, of the guest, and a personal touch here, because being on the floor pretty much every day, seeing, greeting, talking to our guests, we know them all, not all, but a lot of them we know person, and this also makes the place special, because it is important in our philosophy of running the business. It is very important to the guest can understand that I will meet the guy behind this sort of business. I will be able to say hi or ask him something, or maybe leave a comment, or because not all the comments are great. Of course, there is many minds, and we trying to sort of listen to our guests, and if we can improve something for them to be even more comfortable on their next visit, we certainly try our best to do that.
It's tough in service, and a lot of our guests who work on the operator side, the reality is, you're dealing with personalities and experiences on the day, and there's just the chaotic environment of dealing with the public, I suppose. It's, as you say, many people, many minds, but also, you could have. You do a full deep clean and keep on top of all of that, and all it takes is one other person to come along, make something messy, and then it looks messy. So, it's I have a lot of sympathy and respect for people on the service and delivery side of this industry.
That's why it's a lot of staff around who obviously looking after the place and make sure that if someone gets messy, then we can straight away make it especially working with the water, because it's even the water itself, it's already kind of like considered as messy.
In the Banya itself.
In the Banya itself, wet area.
I imagine you have to do a clean down after every, particularly if there's been whisking, for example. Do you have to do quite a extensive clean down after each usage?
Well, it's the spa attendants. They've been sort of browsing through the areas constantly. There is no time. They just sort of come in and out. They see, the group is coming in, so they need to follow the group, make sure that they feel comfortable there. Group is getting out, immediately go there, check if it's all nice and clean, and this is their routine. This is their part of the work.
We do the whisking, or what we call badinya, in a private sauna, private room. I mean, often in Russia, you'll see people just sort of self-administering, which is also something you can do at our place. But I think if you have the treatment delivered by someone who's been trained and really understands what he's doing, it's totally different. Yeah, totally different experience.
Do you guys do special events? Do you find that you get big group bookings? Is it the sort of place that people have their works Christmas party, or do you find it's not so much of a thing?
Well, I think in the UK you still have that level of shyness, and especially if we're talking about the corporate sort of industry and the firms, and it is very difficult to convince the corporate saying, "Oh, come on, let's get it together," almost naked in the Banya.
They just see HR disaster, and
although it's actually a great team building exercise.
Excellent.
I mean, breaking down those. I mean, normally people go out and get drunk
and
to achieve
similar HR disaster.
But it does bond people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think Banya Sauna does the same.
But we do have some start parties, yes, hand parties. Well, we had a few corporate events as well with certain businesses, mainly Eastern European sort of cultures, guys, and they obviously understand the philosophy behind it. And birthdays as well, the people do love. And as we have that sort of public and private component, we can see that a lot of families bring their young kids to sort of get used to the Banya experience, and this is what we encourage a lot. And we have these facilities. We have a lot of different things to make sure that the kids feel also comfortable being there. And that is where we see the future of sort of continuously growth.
Children are our future.
Yeah. absolutely.
But it's funny,
but it's true though.
Yeah, we
get them young.
Yeah, we talk about this from time to time as well. That in the UK there's this, and I think essentially it was a guy about 20 years ago working for one of these spa governing bodies, came up with a set of instructions for the use of a sauna, and I see them around from time to time, and they have, it'll say like you have to be 16 or over to go to the sauna,
right?
And so there's this idea, and we have it with our private clients. We'll build a sauna in their home, and they'll at the end they'll go, "Can my kids go in there? Is it safe? And how long should they go in for?" And I'm like, I've been in commercial saunas in Finland where there is literally a newborn baby in a bucket and the mother is just pouring water over their head to keep them cool. And I was like, kids are even more sensitive, and I've been in there with big family groups where you've got 5 to 10-year-old kids who are coming in and out, and they'll go in and out of the hot room and cold plunge 16 times. I might do it 4 or 5 times. They'll do it 16 times, but they'll be in there much shorter times. Yeah. But they listen to their body even more. They're way more, I guess, hormonally in tune with themselves. They won't sit in. You cannot force a kid to stay in the sauna longer than feels comfortable for them. Yeah. They will get out. So. Yeah. But it's funny culturally that that's changing. Yes. But that we have this perception that suddenly something happens on your 16th birthday where your body prepares itself to be okay to go to Banya or sauna.
It's also refreshing though to be working in an industry where there is
owner operators.
There seems to be this I can't see any reason why it would only appeal to one generation. It's such a universal service product. Wherever you work in the industry, etc. And just from past experience in an alternative industry, I used to work in the hi-fi industry, sound systems, etc.
Okay.
And that is one that clearly gets the average age of its consumer gets older by 1 year every year. So it's really refreshing to see that the appeal of Banya and sauna and thermal bathing is not just growing amongst one age group, but it's completely universal.
And actually the same guy that at some point 30 years ago wrote a set of instructions on those bits of paper or those cards that you see outside of health club things, it says, and if you're older than 65, you must seek medical advice before using the sauna. And you're just looking at this and I'm like, I've been in these saunas in Finland where you've got like people 80 plus, and they go all the time.
And they are so strong in terms of coping with the heat.
Yeah.
And I was in a few of these story of my life. So I went in Russia in 2016 or 17, and the friend of mine, he said, "Oh, I'll take you to the Banya."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Okay, fine, let's go." And he didn't know about that, but we came, and there was the sort of old gentleman's club day, and that's literally was the all clients was the age of my granddad and higher, and we sat on the bench, and I was like, okay, and then the old guy was like probably the oldest one. Approach the stove and start putting the water in, and all the guys were sitting like sweating. And after probably 3 minutes, I was like, "Sorry, I can't really stand it. I need to leave." And I almost laid down to get out from the sauna and Banya. And so it's again, it's all depends on the culture. So if they used to do this for all their lives, their body know how to react regardless of the age. And of course, if you suddenly now get, it's like, this is a good example I'm giving to a lot of people, especially the English people who never tried this. They're like, "Oh really, you go that hot and then you go in that cold, oh my god." I was like, listen, if I will ask you now to take off your clothes and go into that cold plunge, of course you will not do that, and you will feel too cold. But if you go in Banya first and you warm up, gently warm all your muscles and everything, you will come out and your body will beg for the contrast of the temperature to sort of balance it. And you will feel that extremely, extremely as a relief rather than something too cold. And one guy who was like extraordinary against all that, and he was like, no way I will do that. He actually did that, came out from the plunge pool, looking at him, and he was like, I need to go there one more time.
And they get it.
Yes.
Yeah, and after that, they're lifelong.
Exactly, yeah. So I told him, like, well, that's the effect you want to achieve when you're using this, because you didn't know what to expect, you're kind of like hesitating now. And he like say, "Alex, this is amazing experience. I would love to come again," and he become our regular members.
Yeah. So one thing I'd quickly like to touch on, you're a supporter of Sauna Aid, right? So we've had Michaela Arland on the podcast in the past, who's a big champion for Sauna Aid. Tell us a little bit about your involvement and what you've done to support there.
Well, we, I think on the business level and then on the personal level, we are friends with Michael, and we like the idea behind the Sauna Aid, where you help the people to beat their stress and their problems today and now. And at this time, I think Ukraine is one of that sort of close attention from all over the world about what's going on. And Mikkel bring his Sauna Aid view towards Ukraine, trying to help bring more saunas to make life of Ukrainians a bit easier, a bit more stress relief, and give them an opportunity to sort of sweat and release the tension and the muscles and everything. And at some point we decided that we would love to be involved and participate in that, and we specifically ask for not only the sauna, as sauna ends their ability to have the hot water to wash themselves, because I'm originally from the south of Ukraine, the city called Kherson. 5 years nobody will ever even know where the Ukraine is. Now a lot of people do know where the Kherson is, because this is one of the cities being damaged badly, and it's the first city who's been occupied by the Russians on the day one. And my missus with the child was there on that time. Okay. So it was quite stressful for us, and very on a personal level. And so at some point I decided I wanted to help citizens of Kherson to get that sort of opportunity to warm up and wash themselves, and especially after the dam.
When they blew up the dam up river on the
Dnieper River.
Yeah.
So that the Kherson was the city who was affected, suffered, and we asked the designers to create this sauna with the ability to wash themselves as well there, and we sent it over to Ukraine.
So this is like a big trailer sauna.
Well, initially it was just the sort of movable, but without the trailer. It was just sort of a unit alone.
Unit, yeah.
Yes, and later on the guys get the wheels on it, and they become mobile sauna, and it's traveling around the Ukraine, mainly where the war, sort of the main part of the main things happening, and the guys are using this. It's more than a year now, and we are so proud of it, and we are considering to do more, and we are talking with Mikhail now about the opportunity to sort of join our forces to make sure that we get raised enough funds to make it bigger than just one unit. And I think the Mikhail, he does a lot on through his channels to provide this type of facilities to Ukraine, and I think it's a great idea. And it's not about the Ukraine. It's really about the vision of how you can help the people. And I hope there will be no other wars in the world further. But if the world will require the sort of support from for that, I think we are there to help.
I think that's excellent, and bravo to you guys for that. It's something that we're passionate about, and obviously whilst we've not sent a mobile sauna out, that we've supported financially with. So and finally, let me ask the question of do you have any future plans? What does the future for Bathhouse look like? And can you share with us anything that you're planning?
I mean, we'd love to grow. We think there's the market's growing. There's lots of demand out there. We'd love to. It's difficult finding the right locations. I mean, ultimately, we'd love to do something in the countryside. I mean, the greatest Banya experiences I've had as the greatest, they're on the side of a lake. You're there, and it'd be great to create something like that. But nothing imminent, sadly. We'll get there.
Great. Yeah, it's one of those things. There's so many obstacles, but it's and people often underestimate just what goes into it. With some of the commercial projects that we've supported, even though it's a big sauna, it's actually a really small amount of the overall cost of the project. And there's not just a load of other things that you might think of. There's all the unknown unknowns, and there's the marketing and setup costs, and there's I'm sure when you first start and you're paying everybody's wages, and before you're at capacity, you've got these. You guys are nodding avidly. And as is often the case with all these things, you sort of start to forget the sleepless nights and the difficult things that you had at the beginning, and then you're like, oh, maybe we should do that to ourselves again. So. But yeah, we'd love to see more of that in this space, and a countryside Banya in the UK would be really special.
Yeah, definitely worth a challenge and the pursuit. Yeah.
We are happy to accept the challenge.
So if people want to book with you, they can find you on their on your website, which is
so it's www.banyalondon.co.uk. We're called The Bathhouse. In Victoria, you can book online or give us a call.
And socials, do you have Instagram? Can people find you?
Absolutely, yes. It's the Instagram, probably one of our main channel of educating the people and providing more information about what is actually about. And you can find us on, I think, the Instagram called Banya.eu, in Belgravia,
Mm-hmm.
and or the bus houses. If you put the bus house, you will definitely find us.
Great. We'll put the links in the bottom of the YouTube video as well
Thank
for
you.
people to check out.
Thank you.
Great. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for coming on the
Pleasure.
podcast.
Thanks for inviting us, guys.
Thank you.
you.
Cheers.